Hello and welcome to a video demo of the Bushnell BackTrack point 0.5. This will only be the point 0.5 version, and some tips and tricks. Been messing around with this thing for about a week, and I thought I'd share what I've learned. So let's start off with the basic hardware. I like the size of the device. It has a grayscale screen, looks good in the sun, good battery life, has a backlight for use at night, comes with a carabiner for clipping onto things. Very nice. The buttons on the side has 4 buttons for getting around the system. Hard to press, but I'd rather not accidentally press one. The device has room for a couple AAAs, and looks like it's got a little gasket there to keep some water out. That's where used to have a screw to hold it closed. I snapped that off immediately, so my weak spot for the hardware. Other than that, great little device. So the sales pitch. What's the company's pitch for this device? And to see if it'll live up to it, well, I'll let Bushnell tell you.
Ever lose track of where you parked? Get turned around while hiking? Or ruin a morning hunt because you couldn't find your tree stand? You'll never get lost again with the Bushnell BackTrack. It's the world's easiest to use GPS, and it works like this. Just mark the location you want to return to, and forget it. When you're ready, getting back is as easy as pushing a button and following an arrow. This is GPS made simple. Perfect for finding your way in an unfamiliar city, crowded parking lots, hiking, camping, hunting, anywhere.
GPS made simple, and the concept certainly is simple. You find a spot you want to mark, you press a button, you want to come back, you turn it on, and it'll take you back to that spot. This is the point 0.5. It gives you 5 waypoints or spots you can go back to in its memory. I do personally own a GeoMate Junior. This has the home function, which will bring you back to your car or to the trailhead. This has worked like a charm and has never failed me, but in using it, I've always wanted 5 or 10 waypoints that I could put into this device. So when I saw the BackTrack point 0.5, I was very excited and decided to jump in at that point. So after purchasing the BackTrack and a fresh set of AAA rechargeable batteries, we headed off for a hike in the foothills out here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I used the GeoMate Junior as a backup device, stuck it in my back pocket, and off we went. Locking the BackTrack and the GeoMate onto my car was a piece of cake. Headed up the hill. I had no problems setting waypoints along the way. The backlight was helpful as it gets a little dark in these woods here. And when it was time to turn around, I set the BackTrack back to its last or 5th waypoint and headed towards the arrow, which not only took me the wrong way, but the exact wrong way. I was heading up the hill still. This couldn't be good. In fact, the first thought in my head was this device is going to get somebody killed. So maybe this wasn't so simple after all. Maybe I got a dud. Maybe I just need to read the manual. I'm not sure, but either way, I broke it, so I have to keep it. So here's what I found. First thing I learned from the instructions were the natural way you would hold it, as you see in Bushnell's own videos, is wrong. You can't hold it this way. What you need to do is hold it completely flat. So testing this out, you'll see in the video that holding it naturally and holding it completely horizontal makes a huge difference in the directional arrow. On a side note, looking for answers in some user forums and that type of thing, I found people saying remove the carabiner. It messes with the compass. Don't wear a wristwatch. Keep it away from your body. Put your cell phone in your back pocket. I didn't find any of these to be true, but keeping this thing flat and perfectly horizontal is imperative. The next thing you'll learn is the self-calibrating compass is calibrated by you. That sales pitch we talked about earlier, self-calibrating digital compass is a feature of this product, but you do that by calibrating it yourself in the manual. Even go a bit further on the web, giving you precise instructions on how to do this. So instead of
When you're
this.
ready, getting back is as easy as pushing a button and following an arrow. This is GPS made simple.
What it should say is power it on, then swing it in a figure 8, then flip it over and back and left and right. And then when you're finished with that, you'll want to walk in a big circle. Great thing about this is they want you to do it every time you turn the device on to make sure you're calibrated. If you're in public and you have to do this, you might want to put out a hat. You might get some spare change for your entertaining antics. So, armed with my newfound juggling skills, off I went to the woods to give this a test. Did it work for me? No, not at all. I couldn't spin this thing or juggle it enough. I followed directions exactly. This thing still didn't work. But, based on what I now know, I did figure this thing out, sorta. So, here's my tips and tricks to getting this thing to somewhat function. Remember, your mileage may vary. So first off, turning the thing on. When you change the batteries or for the first start of the day, make sure you're out in a clear area and stand still until this thing locks up. This could take a while. Seems to really struggle to find satellites the first time. In my estimation, it might take up to a minute. If I move, it takes longer. So if you can, try to start this thing up the first shot. Don't wait till you're in the woods to try and do this. It'll never lock up. So once your GPS locks to a satellite, and you'll know that because up in the corner there it'll stop flashing and the arrow will show up. Once you've done that, if you're setting a waypoint, set it immediately. You don't need to wait. You don't need to juggle. You don't need to walk in a circle. What I found is the GPS itself locks on almost immediately. It's very fast. Don't worry about the arrow. Just lock your waypoint in. After you turn it on that first painful time, turning it on after that, it's really fast. Which is nice. So you're ready for your next waypoint, turn it on. The second it locks, set your waypoint, boom, it's done. Works really slick. Second time around, third time around. Gets faster and faster as you go along. One thing I always do after I set a waypoint is as I'm walking away, I'll watch to make sure it's a smooth transition. For example, it'll go 6 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards as I'm walking away before I shut the device off, just to give me that warm fuzzy that I actually hit the spot I was looking for. So you're ready to head back to one of those marked waypoints. This is where it gets a little tricky. You're going to want to put your faith in the distance to your marked location, not the arrow. In fact, here you'll see as I'm starting to walk, just ignore the arrow, but if you look at I'm kind of flipping it around, more about that in a second. You'll notice 300 yards, 300, 299. You see I'm going in the right direction. Or if you look at the arrow, it says I need to turn around and go back. So trust the numbers at first. Then you're going to want to start flipping the thing around as I am. You'll see I'm reversing it, turning it left, I'm turning it right. And you'll want to have some patience at this point because it's going to take a bit. Wait for the compass lock. How do you know when you have a compass lock? Well, you're going to turn this thing to the left, to the right, forward, facing you. You're going to do this every 5 seconds or so until every way you turn it agrees. Let me show you. So let's pretend I'm walking in a straight line. Watch where the arrow points. I would say this would be about an 8 o'clock position. Now this would be a 3 o'clock position. Now it's a 4 o'clock position. Oh, now we're on to something. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, that's pretty close. So now I can flip it over and it'll still go back to that position. Now you know you got it. There you go. Once I'm confident I have a compass that's functioning again, I'll just simply do a couple spins around the earth. I'll show you here quick. I don't do the figure 8. I don't walk in circles. I just spin it a couple different directions and then make sure it's still pointing where it should be pointing. Once you have compass lock, this thing works as advertised and will take you where you're going to go. You can trust the compass. Just follow the arrow. Works great. Unfortunately, you only have about 4 minutes till the thing shuts off on its own. So if you don't want it to shut off and you don't want to go through this again each time, make sure you get in there and at least push some button which restarts the timer. One little thing I should probably mention, since you'll be using the distance to your waypoint as your determining factor if you're going in the right direction or not, until the arrow catches up. Unfortunately, after about 800 yards, it flips to tenths of a mile, which makes it really hard to tell if you're going the right direction or not. So can't help you there. Good luck. So if you're still tuned in, I'll give you a couple odds and ends about this device. It does a few things other than point. Give you the temperature, your altitude. As long as you don't keep it in your pocket where it gets overheated or in your hand, it's pretty accurate. I tested it out. It also does your raw coordinates and a compass. Compass is kind of iffy, just like the pointer. Some people have asked if you can geocache with this. Unfortunately, Bushnell chose to use a format that doesn't really match geocaching.com's coordinates format. Can you do it? Yes. I don't know if you can see on here, but you can click other conversions and it will convert it over, and then you kind of make the two match up, and that's where the cache is. I tried this. It works. I found a couple caches, but a pain in the butt. Also, if you plan on picking one of these up, you have to know that this is a as the crow flies device. So if you're here on the left in the circle, you want to get back to your car, which is in the right circle, the device is going to point you as the crow flies, which usually isn't the best way. With this device, you have 5 waypoints, so you could certainly mark off, several other spots to take you back, and you could follow them back one at a time until you got back. Good for a day hike, good for being in the city, but serious hiker, you'd be in serious trouble with this device. Final thoughts. Is this device for you? Well, hopefully I gave you enough information you can determine that on your own. Is it right for me? Well, I'd have returned it if I hadn't broke it right out of the package, but it's functional enough, and I've gotten used to it, that I can make it work. So, if you have a device and it doesn't work the way mine does, if you don't have these issues, please put the information in the comments. Let me know. I'd like to know. Also, if you work for Bushnell and you don't agree with anything I've said here, please let me know. I think this would be a great place to let everyone know what's going on. Maybe it was a production run that was a dud, something, and they've been fixed now. Probably be a real positive thing to pass along. And of course, if I get enough information, I will certainly modify this video or make any changes to it. With that said, hope this has helped. This is a device I couldn't find much information on before I bought it. Hopefully this will help you. Take care.